Welcome to Inspire Me with Jay. This is a podcast to inspire, uplift, show forth the love of God, and help usher in the spiritual awakening. Welcome to Inspire Me with Jay. I'm your host, Jay Spillers. I have a guest today, Christine, who's written a book about heart space, and she's going to talk about her book and her different experiences and teachings. Christine, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Jay, for having me on your podcast.
Yeah, thanks for coming. So, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Basically, I came from corporate world. 20 years of my corporate career. I left in 2001 because I know there's something more that I need to, like, there's a bigger call, um, and also a curiosities of learning about life, more about life, because I felt such a imbalance because I rely so much on my headspace, on my analyticals, rationals, with the way I work, the way I see the world. And, with that, there's anxieties, there are a lot of fear, overwhelm, stress. So I thought there should be a different way um, of being in this world. And I also noticed in myself and in others about that more often we become a human doing rather than human being. We we every time, at least this is what my experience is. When I wake up, like, what should I do? I need to do something. There's something in all of us that feel like, oh, I gotta do something. We gotta achieve something. But so it's hard for us to slow down and to relax. So I there was a time in my life where I felt, you know what, I'm gonna leave everything behind and really explore and face my own fear. And in that way, also, to embody that, I wrote my book, The Heart Space: Living with Grace and Ease in an Era of Uncertainty, because that's what I felt, the way we are moving right now, and the need of returning to our heart centered rather than our headspace. Because through challenges or uncertainties, what we need is not working from what we know. I don't think that's going to be effective anymore, because in front of us is unknown. So how can we, um, in touch with our own capacity that is beyond just reasoning and intellect, imaginations, intuition and wisdom, and tap into the different kind of knowing, you know from the intellect, the things that we need to know. It feels like, I need to have the definitions. I need to have a clear step by step. But can we also get used to kind of knowing that deep down we know, even though we cannot express it, but like there's something inside um, that know, that is certain, and what sometimes we cannot explain it, we only can feel it. So how can we allow ourselves to feel more? So that's basically my book about. It's um, to show the difference between the head space and the heart space, and how it affects our experience.
What are the steps you took to go from headspace to heart space?
Um, that's a very good questions. And from me is, first step is to slow down, right? Because if you're not slowing down, it's so easy to get into habitual response, reactive. When I see something, when I get triggered, I become reactive, and I go back to the past, things that I know. And that reaction is usually happen because we compare, we see things that are here from the past experience. So in order to return to the heart space, first of all, we need to slow down. And sometimes the ideas of, we need to crack the shell within us. because I felt like most of us live in resistance, in denial, denying life, denying what's here, and always focus um, on what's not here. So if and I found most people that are willing to go to the heart space are people who are in transitions, people who experience pain or suffering or some challenges, because that's the way I got through it too. To to finally understood I cannot rely on myself, my intellect, my knowledge, uh, my intelligence anymore, but I need to surrender and to let go. So to go from the head space to heart space, having that intention to surrender, even though I know it's hard, but having that intention and slowing down so that we can see and we also can listen more to our own what's happening within us, like the inner war within us, the conflicts that we have of wanting for control, because usually we have that um, need to have security, to feel safe, to have control, so that we want to control everything. We want to control what's going to happen next. That's why we always try to anticipate and use our analytical mind to predict what's going to happen. And usually what happens is we predict things that are worse, or we always focus on the lack so we can prepare. So the ideas of surrendering is allowing our mind to protect us in a way like, oh, I need to prepare, I need to think about what's going to do, what I'm going to do next, to surrender and to let go. And with that, we can relax more. But that's always need intention and attention, right? We need to be mindful and stay close with that wanting, because otherwise we go back to our survival mode again.
You're listening to the Inspire Me with Jay podcast. Please do like and subscribe to the channel, bringing hope and inspiration to the world.
So do you have to have stillness within mind and body and just kind of be still to slow down?
Yes. And I know this is, and I found stillness is really hard to do when our mode or our state is always in hurry, always anxious, always wanting to do things fast. I found stillness is about training our muscles to be still. So it's like muscle training, because if we don't feel safe, now this is kind of cause and effect, and it's like a circle. If we don't feel safe, I don't think we're willing to be still, right? If you don't feel safe, like it's hard to be still. But when we allow ourselves to be still, we can experience more of feeling safe. So it's kind of cause and effect. And if we are more willing, then things getting better. Now, I always in my book I mentioned about this kind of feeling of safety and be still is like muscle training, because like gymnastics, the athlete, right? The way they're so flexible is because they train their muscles. And if if I say to myself, hey, um, fall backward, surrender and fall backward, I will not do that. Like my nervous system will not ever let me do that if it's not safe, right? Because I know it's gonna hurt me. Like my body will not willing to back fall backward. And the only way I can do that, um, I can make myself fall backward willingly if there's a cushion, right? Enough cushion in the back that I can see with my eyes, I can touch it, I can maybe sit down and say, okay, this is safe enough, so that I be more willing to fall back, because I know there is something behind me that can hold me, that I'm not going to be hurt. So that awareness of, oh, there is something behind me, is my willingness to look back and said, oh yeah, there's cushion. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna sit down on it instead of like, no, I don't want it. I'm not gonna do it, right? But the willingness to say, hey, there's a cushion behind me, and let me see what's going on there. Oh yeah, I feel safe. Okay, I'm be more willing to fall backward. And for me, in my book, also I mentioned that that kind of support that we have, like, because those cushions, it's support, right? The only way we can be more aware if we can allow ourselves to move away from separation consciousness. Like, I'm alone, I don't have anybody, everything I need to do everything myself, otherwise thing doesn't work. I need to protect myself, I need to do this, I need to do that to be successful, I need to work hard. I think we still living in a fear-based society, fear-based systems. But if I be more open to, like, walk on the street, like in the park, for example, look at nature and what nature does to me, um, I be more aware of the support I get from things that I not noticing before. For example, if you walk, and we think like it's all us, right? Like, it's my feet walking, it's all me, my effort doing it. Or if we see birds flying, it's like, oh, it's the birds flying because they have wings, of course they can fly. But if you look at the way we walk, or the way birds fly, the way we walk, there's always ground beneath us. Without that ground, we cannot walk. So the ground is there supporting us as we walk. And the bird can glide without flapping their wing and not falling down, is because there's air supporting them, right? The pressures of the air supporting them. So yes, of course, the bird has something, it has wings, but there's other elements that's supporting us that sometimes beyond what we know. Our body, for example, we are only, I think, 51% human. The rest are microbiomes, like fungi, bacteria, like living harmoniously within us, so we can live, we can breathe, we can do our activities, but we're never aware of that. So the idea is, if we become more aware of our surrounding, all the support that we receive, instead of just in our mind thinking about our story, our survival, then we more open, be more willing to trust, be more willing to surrender, because we can see, we can feel um, things are supporting us, even small thing. Therefore, that openness from the heart space to just be present and see what our busy mind couldn't see would help us even more open to surrender and to receive knowledge and intuitions and wisdoms that is innate within us. I hope that's clear, Jay.
Well, so as part of finding security in trusting the process.
Yes. Um, Another story in my book, what I wrote was, a few summers ago, I have my neighbor had a peach tree, an apricot trees in the backyard. So the branches went to my my backyard, and there are a few apricots just right there on my backyard. And I took stairs and I just picked them up. And I was like, whoa, this is great. I don't have to do anything. It's just right on my backyard. I pick it up. And I realized I live in, Toronto, so urban cities. Um, we never have that awareness, especially if you live in the cities, that, all the food you need to eat, you have to buy it, right? All the food you need to eat, it's already packaged. Um, Everything you do, you need to buy water. You need to buy this and that. So there is no awareness of, hey, nature actually provide us with things for free. There's abundance there. We don't experience it because we're not that close with nature anymore. But that awareness for me, like, yeah, there are abundance, but I never notice it because I'm too busy with my things. And a lot of the way we live, the economy, the politics, and everything else make us feel that, again, you need some money to buy food, right? You need some money to live. You need some shelter. You need to pay tax. You need to. So there's a lot of things that you need before you get what you want. There's a lot of things that you have to do before you achieve something. But can we also have the ideas of being like a child when, I just want to play because I'm just want to play. I don't I'm not playing because I need to be healthy or I need to gain, lost weight, right? So because we have that very mechanical way of trying to achieve something. We go to different steps, therefore we get something else, but we never really go directly because we didn't have that connection. So for me, my one of my mission is just to make people to be more open with those ideas, and the idea of that our world is a mind-made world. Everything we do, it's a mind-made, right? We have to work 9 to 5. It's not naturally nature, or we a lot of roles that in our societies are not natural in nature. It's made up by our mind, and we agree with that. But if we're able to kind of use our doubt, or this analytical capacity that we have, instead of doubting ourselves, instead of like trying to be so judgmental to ourselves and to others, how can we use that critical thinking to really doubt all the conditioning that we've been taught, that we didn't know it's conditioning. We think it's us. Yeah.
So, in terms of slowing down and stilling, what are some ways that you do that? Do you go to like a safe space in meditation?
Yeah. So I in my book I put few exercise and practices that people can do in their daily life. I believe there's no one perfect thing for everyone. Everyone is different. Some people don't like meditation. They cannot be still. Some people love meditation. And for me, my way of being still and surrender is meditation, because that in meditation I can slow down. And also it's a practice to, I know my mind's all over the place, and we all are, right? It's like even in meditations. But the idea is that in my meditation, can I surrender and even be allowing myself to let go what I know about myself, let go what I know about reality, just be in that moment. And for me, I use Psalm 23 to allow myself to feel that groundedness, to feel that I'm being guided, to feel that I'm being taken care. I don't know if you knew about that. It's the idea to like, the Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lay down in green pastures and lead me near quiet water. He refreshes my soul. And for me, it's like, it doesn't mean you have to be religious for it, but the ideas of those as a poem, as really, really contemplating on each words and each sentences, and feel it in your body. For example, if I meditate and I said, he takes me into he guides me to green pastures and lead me near quiet water. He refreshes my soul. I feel relaxed already, right? It's like I don't have to do stuff. There's somebody guiding me that bigger than me. So I just need to be relaxed and just feel like, oh my God, it's just beautiful to be in a green pasture. I can do that. I don't have to reason or is it right or not. but just feel that peace, inner peace in me, so that my body start learning, oh, yes, this is what peace feels like, right? Because sometimes when we are stressed out or traumatized, we are in this protective mode, like fight and flight all the time, and our body, our nervous systems are always tense. But for me, through meditation, through kind of um, really be in those words and contemplating it and feeling it in my body, then my body start noticing the different, what it means to be relaxed, to feel peace. So then what happened is my nervous system registered more spectrum of uh, my somatic awareness rather than tension all the time, which I don't know how to relax. I know what is relax means. So when I'm in really, of course we always go up and down during the day, during the month or week. Then when I'm really tense or I find myself in fear or like starting to doubt myself, I start noticing it. Oh, I'm in this state and it doesn't feel comfortable in my body. I really long to go back to this state because I know how to be in this state. I experienced it before. So my body or my nervous system has more awareness to go back to that even without my thinking. Sometimes what we used to do is because we are so in our head, right? We need to allow our body by thinking about, let's say, having a nice day on the beach so that our body can feel, nice day on the beach. And that's totally fine. But when your body has more ability to be in that state, you can bypass that. I need to think about it so that I can be in this state. I can just um, tune in into my body to be in that state. So then that state helped my mind to calm, right? Because they all connected. And the other thing is, in my book, for people who cannot meditate or don't like to sit still, I think walking on, going for a walk on the woods or the park, in the park. And also, another thing I in the practice also, if you go for a walk and learn to, instead of focusing, looking at, things are outside, the trees or the sky or people around, allowing them to go into you. So instead of you trying to focus, allowing the tree you see or whatever the flower is you to come to you, to your sight, to your awareness, and feel how it touch you. So how can we be more on feeling and sensing simple stuff like, how beautiful are the flowers, or oh, it's like when I'm drinking my tea, oh, it smells really good, and enjoy those kind of simple moments so our body kind of register what it feels like to feel good, because our mind is very conceptual. Like feeling good is, that means I'm losing weight, for example. Feeling good is, I mean, I get this paycheck or raise or promotions. That just very conceptual, right? It's like I'm I'm postponing my right to feel good, to be happy, because I'm creating a rule that I don't allow myself to be that in that state if I don't get something. And I think that's a very cruel thing to do to ourselves, right? So can we allow um, us to, just by simple thing, to be happy, to feel this sense of pressure, pleasure, just simple as drinking tea, or hugging your children, or hugging your partner, or whatever, hugging your pet, and feel and receive that feeling of good, feeling good. And because feeling good is not a concept, it's an experience, and you always can get into it by simple things that you love to do as a child. Because as a child, we don't think like, oh, I need to feel good if it's like if I play with my doll, or if I playing with my imaginary friend, I can feel good. So how can we allow ourselves to feel good and not to create a self-made rule that make us suffer.
I spent several years of my life stressed, anxious, and depressed. I needed to find something that would make my life work. For me, that was meditation. With meditation, I found the peace of mind that I was looking for. I found the happiness, and I found a way to improve every area of my life, my emotional life, my spiritual life, my relationships. I was able to discover things about myself. I can give you the tools to meditate. I will walk you through the process and hold your hand. Whether you're a beginner to meditation who's never meditated, or whether you're someone who's tried meditation and it just never seemed to work, we can make it work. Meditation is something that everyone can do, and I can show you how. Check out my course on meditation. Well, it's kind of like mindfulness and meditation are two circles, and they definitely overlap. But there's some mindfulness that isn't necessarily like meditation, at least in a formal sense. And there's some meditation that's not necessarily mindful. And you're kind of talking about, like, when you go on a walk, doing a mindful walk, or being mindful as you drink tea or things like that, having that awareness.
Yeah. And I also, I used to run mindfulness program for big IT organizations, and I want to bring this up because we think mindfulness is something, right? It's like, oh, I need to learn about mindfulness. Mindfulness is actually our natural state. So it's not like I need to learn with some guru or some. I just need to be in the state of mindful. Like it's a being instead of doing. If I being, that means it's also related to intention. And what I found, the bias that I notice in myself as well, is like this, right? So let's say I learn mindfulness, I learn meditation. I know how to meditate, or I know what mindfulness is. I practice mindfulness, but there is there's a bias in that because that's it become intellectual. So with the way we uh, gain knowledge these days, right? We go to school, we learn something intellectually, we understand it, and we get certification or something like that, right? When I understand intellectually, I can say I know, but in organic life, it doesn't work that way. So if I said I know mindfulness, but I don't live it, I don't embody it, even though I know, and I just run in autopilot, I don't really know that. It's like the knowing that is most people don't know now is the knowing of the moment. Because, for example, if you said, I want to be mindful, I want to be happy, it is you being that. Like, I am happy, I am mindful. So it is a practice that for us to, as a being that is actually have a lot of power to, I found freedom is also include freedom not to do what we want. So we have a lot of things that we do that, but the freedom of embodying it. If I said life is beautiful, I'm always guided, I can have that intellectual knowledge of that. Life is beautiful, I'm always guided. But if I live without being aware of that knowledge, I can just live a lot with fear, even though I know intellectually I'm being guided. But in reality, I don't choose. I'm not choosing that, right? So the idea is, if I know I'm being guided and everything's work for my benefits, other, if my brain seeing it as a good thing or not, I know deep down it's for my benefit, then I carry that every day in my intention. And if that's the life I want, is that the life I want to live, then I have to bring that in my awareness every single time I do things, because that's my choice, right? So even though you know how to meditate, you know how to, yeah, it's helped because then you become more, you develop a good habit, healthy habit. But to be mindful, to have peace, to be happy, it is the choice of being. It's not, I know what is happiness. The happiness is when you being happy. The happiness, the happiness when, or the peace is when you being at peace. It's not just I know how to get to at peace, but like, am I right now being at peace? And I bring that into my awareness. And I felt that that's the true mindfulness. Mindfulness is not just, oh, mindful is this definition according to, this person and that person. But mindfulness, according to me, is when I live that. I'm I'm being mindful. I am mindful, right? So, in a lot of wisdom traditions or esoteric, they always said about I am, right? Because that is true. You are is what you are at the moment. And if you want to be happy, I am happy or I am love. If I want to embody love, I cannot say, oh, that person doesn't love me, the world or this, yeah, I want to be loved. But then we give our power away. But when we say I am love, that means you make a choice at this moment to be love, right? To be love itself, to be happy itself. You are at that moment is what you embrace your experience. So can can we bring more this knowledge, not as intellectual knowledge, but embodied knowledge? Because I think a lot of smart people, we gain information, we take information, but can that information become flesh? Like what Jesus said, in about, you know uh, can we make things that we know become flesh, become our own experience, become us? And I think that's the challenge of right now, when we are so intellectual, we're so analytical, we're so living in our head, we don't live what we want. We live the idea of it. We just know the idea of it. We don't become it. And my invitation to all of us is like, can we become it? If you want to have peace in this world, can we, instead of like, oh, the world has to be this, they have to do this, and just become it at the moment? Because we only have this presence. Every day, the next minute is a present moment. The next minute after that is a present moment. So with that, it's very simple. We don't have to like, oh, in the future I need to be this and that. It's like at this moment. Can you be that just at this moment? And then the next moment, and the next moment, because that becomes simple and it's not complicated. Um, and you mentioned also about, how can we, when we are in some emotional distress and emotionally broken or feeling upset that we cannot handle ourselves to move us forward, can we also acknowledge that? Can we also be with it, knowing it's okay? Because um, our emotions, our thoughts are going up and down and changing all the time. So by being and acknowledging, yes, I'm feeling sad right now, and I'm going to be with me, um, and create a safe space instead of denying that feeling, instead of creating stories how other people treat me or I'm treating myself or judging myself. Can I just be with that feeling without all the stories? Because soon enough it will disappear. It will move to different state, right? Because we are our emotions, our feelings are, so we are in, I feel like we are two states. One is we are the sky, and our thoughts are the clouds, right? Our feelings are the clouds. It's changing all the time. But if we focus on that thoughts or feelings, of course, it's just changing all the time. We have to adjust it. And if we're trying to control it, we, we get overwhelmed and exhausted just because trying to control our feeling and emotions are not thoughts. But also notice that we are the sky. The clouds may be cloudy, may be raining, but after a while, we know that the sun is always above the clouds. It's there. It's never disappeared. So can we also build that awareness that yes, in this up and down in our thoughts, we get triggered, but at the same time, we are also this sky that is always there, never change, always certain in a very different way than the way our intellectual knows about certainty. So, can we expand our capacity, not just be in our head, being rigid, and focus on the stories, and especially the stories that are bad, lacking, scarcity, fear, but also the stories of who we are as spiritual. My dog is spiritual being living in this body.
Have you ever wanted to learn to meditate? Check out my book, Meditation for Everyone: How to Quickly Have a More Peaceful, Mindful, and Fulfilled Life, and support this channel. With Meditation for Everyone, you will learn to quickly and easily meditate, relieve stress and anxiety, alleviate depression, and have more joy, peace, and relaxation. What you will learn: mindfulness, the art of stillness, step by step on how to meditate, strategies for overcoming challenges to meditation, and much more. D. Mason said this is a nice meditation book, even for those already meditating. I agree with the statements that it will help to have a more peaceful, mindful, and fulfilled life. 4.6-star rating, available on Amazon. Well, I always say things like peace, tranquility, and happiness is really our natural state. Things like stress, anxiety, depression is the artificial thing. So it's not really that you have to go out there and find peace and happiness. It's already in here. It's your natural state. Just go back to your natural state within.
Yeah, I love what you're saying. I think the well-being is our innate state. Happiness is our innate state. Because as a child, it's like the well-being, the happiness, the joy is innate state. The child that doesn't have to learn to be happy, to be joyful. We are born with it. So if we kind of more aware of that, then if let's say we get depressed or we get frustrated, we don't be afraid of it because we know we're gonna return back to our natural state. And I felt like if we not aware, like you said, that's a natural state, therefore we are so worried. It becomes scarcity, right? The happiness. Oh, I need to get it because otherwise I'm gonna lose it. But if we know, oh yeah, it's natural state, it's abundance. Yeah, okay, let's like I get triggered, I get mad, but then or I get sad, I get disappointed. But then I know, hey, what this is temporary. I'll go back to my natural state anyway. So it's not a big deal to feel sad, for example, right? Then it's easier for us to return because we don't resist the energy, the flow of different energy that going out in and out through our body.
Hmm. So, are there any other techniques in your book that you use to help people?
Yeah. So one thing that I mentioned in my book, a couple things to be more in the heart space and to be more attached or not attached, to be more aware. And can you hear me, Jay? I know my oh
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear.
yeah, to be more aware and use your heart space, to be more in the state of awe and wonder. um One thing is, spend some time in nature, or if you cannot inside your house or whatever, like maybe 5 minutes, just pick an object in your room or whatever it is, and just take a look at that object, be open to it, and see what's that object tell you stories. So, for example, in my book, I said I was looking at my fan, my ceiling fan, on my ceiling, a fan. So I look at it, I look at the shape, and suddenly, it dawned on me that the history or relational history of that fan connects me with a lot of people, connects me with different location. For example, it comes from this metal, so it was mined. It's somewhere. It's mined. The materials were in the mining, and it's delivered, and then it's made by a lot of people, and then it ships, and then it's involved a lot of people on shipping, storage, and then it comes into my house. When my husband and I first bought the house, and then attached to the ceiling, and in the ceiling there's dust, and how it connect with the electricities. And in that moment, I start to see the relational ideas of a thing. I start appreciating what is it. Before it's like a label, like a fan. I never noticed it again. But in there is much more stories, much more connection with me and other part of the world, maybe hundreds of people that working on it to have that in my home. Or for example, when I eat, in my plates the world is in my plate, because for example, the rice come from Thailand, the beans come from Saskatoon, the meat come from maybe the States, the the vegetables come from Ontario's, and through those things, I'm here in my plate eating it. And that way, what I felt is I felt connected. I felt like, yeah, so it's like building that awareness, the relational awareness that you are part of something bigger is very important to overcome that feeling of a loneliness and separateness. That this is me, I'm just doing this thing, this is my story. But like, if we can be more open and look and see and be in awe of what's around us, that allow us to be more in the heart space, more in the gratitudes. So that's some of. And the other thing that I did, it's in my book as well, my awareness of the heart space, is once in a while I would go to a park, flat ground, and I know it's safe. I close my eyes and walk, and then walk as my eyes close. Of course, knowing first it's safe. It's not like, there's no traffic or anything. Then I just allow myself to surrender, for 2 or 3 steps, and then maybe open my eyes a little bit, and then 2 or 3 steps, and open my eyes a little bit, because that way I become more aware of my other senses, right? Because we are so dependent on our sight, and with our eyes, the way we know things is through separation, to the line that separate, the wall and the door. So all that we see, we identify to precisions of line and limitation and boundaries. So, and that's really aligned to the way our analytical brain works. But our senses, other senses, such as our hearing and feeling and sensing, and our skin, are more, it's different. It's a different way of sensing the world and connecting with the world, that is beyond limitations of the precisions of lines and border. So for me, that's helped me to be close to my intuitions, to practice surrendering, not trying to judge myself. I wanted to walk for 10 steps, closing my eyes. I'm free to open my eyes and close my eyes again. But the ideas of, this is my intention to surrender, and I'm doing it. just to by closing my eyes and stuff like that. I hope it's helped. I know it's um, yeah.
So you do TED Talks too, didn't you? You've done at least one TED Talk.
Yeah, I just did one TED Talk in June, and it's called How Deep Listening Can Change the World. So it's about so the last 3 years I've been facilitating deep listening circle, and the reason why I did, because I felt we need to, as humanity, as collective, we need to learn to listen more. And I think by listening we can change our world. Like just by simply listening, one conversation at a time, we can change the world around us. And we can, and I also believe that um, the best gift we can give ourselves and others is the opportunity to be seen and acknowledged. And the way to do that is learning to listen both way to our, like listening inside ourselves. Because I think the problem why we don't know how to listen is because we don't know how to listen to ourselves. So yeah, so those TED talk is about my experience, what I found about listening. For example, when my children were little, they stopped crying when I held them in my arms, and I learned that my presence means more than my words. So little by little, I learned, wow, there's impact of listening, and because it's so beautiful, I I felt the need to bring that space or create a space for people to learn to listen. So my deep listening is about slowing down so we can, like, what is happening as we slow down? What is happening when we are in silence together? And what is happening when I respond to you, for example, not like giving you advice, trying to fix you, but um, to give a gift of reflection. Anyhow, so that's pretty much a little bit about the talk in my TED talks.
So what's one final word you'd like to leave with the audience before we close?
I would give a definition of the heart space. The heart space is a gentle, loving place where we can allow all our contradiction and paradox to be in one place at the same time. Because when we allow all the opposites into the space, a new insights, a new idea, a new solution can arise just by allowing all aspects of ourselves together so we become whole again. That will be my
Yeah, well,
final.
thank you for coming on.